God kept alive a Romanian Jewish Lutheran pastor so that he could testify to the free world the reality of Christian life behind the Iron Curtain. Consequently, his life story and personal testimonies are most valuable documents about communist reaction toward free worship of God. They speak of conditions for Christians who wish to worship according to the dictates of their own conscience. Pastor Wurmbrand and his family have risked their lives to defend their faith in Jesus Christ and would not bear the compromise with the communists in curtailing, preaching, and administering the Word of God. Knowing the communists, he had already organized an underground Christian movement among the Russian occupying forces in Romania. He laid the foundation for underground churches as a result of the increasing difficulty for members and leaders to conduct religious activities. The communists realized their task of bending the will of Romanians to accept the Soviet occupation would be greatly simplified if religious leaders would endorse communism. The communists called a congress of 4,000 most important Romanian religious leaders at a national parliament. They indicated a favorable change of policy affecting religious life of the people, as well as the status of priests and pastors. Several pastors heartily endorsed the communist actions at the convention. Reverend Richard Wurmbrand was at that time on the Romanian staff of the World Council of Churches. Everyone was eager to hear his endorsement of the generous promises offered by the communists. Instead, the pastor electrified the people by declaring that allegiances belong first and foremost to Jesus Christ and not to communism. Despite a few dissenters, the audience responded with cheers and applause as the meeting broke up. Pastor Wurmbrand was closely watched. It was on a Sunday in February in 1948 as Pastor Wurmbrand was walking to the parsonage that he was kidnapped and dragged away in a van to a prison. There he was stripped of his papers, belongings, clothes, and his name. He was thrown into solitary confinement for 3 years in a cell directly beneath the beautiful palace in Bucharest. Here Pastor Wurmbrand underwent 14 years of physical, mental, and spiritual agony. The pastor, who was 6 feet tall, entered the prison weighing over 200 pounds. He left weighing only 90. Mrs. Wurmbrand was also imprisoned. She was put on a crew of slave laborers and condemned to 3 years of hard labor, while her son was left behind along with many other children of imprisoned parents. Mrs. Wurmbrand was released before her husband, but she was told he was dead. Not believing them, she waited. Ultimately, he was released from prison, and on December 6, 1965, the whole family was bought out of Romania for 10,000 American dollars by concerned Norwegian Christians. Pastor Wurmbrand's personal testimony and general facts about others there reveal the extent of religious persecution behind the iron and bamboo curtain. His published U.S. congressional hearings of 1966 and 1967 tell about the lack of religious liberty, the resulting persecution for Christians and Jews, and misleading policies of the communists in regard to religion. His appearances and testimonies startled the free world.
When Jesus had it to do with doubting Thomas, he showed him the marks on his body, and because so many in the free world doubt the cruelty of communism, I have to show the marks not on my body, but on the body of the Church of Christ in communist countries. Look here, look here, look here, look here, look here. It is like this that the communists torture with red-hot iron pokers, with knives, with rubber truncheons. They beat with big clubs, then afterwards the ribs are broken, osseous tuberculosis intervenes, infections. I have shown you not my body, not my tortures, but those of the children of God who suffer today in communist countries, hundreds of thousands of them.
Once released from prison, Pastor Wurmbrand was told that the total number of people attending any of his church services must not exceed 35. People were no longer permitted to worship freely in the churches. If they did attend, pastors had to report who took communion and who made confession. Unreasonable conditions made it impossible for clergymen to function in their ordained positions. As a result, Many church leaders and laymen had to worship underground. Some even met together in forests while others met in homes. Furthermore, it was difficult to provide Christian education for children. Published literature and Christian materials were difficult to secure. Bibles were not available. So Christians operated secret printing presses in houses such as these. This press has since been discovered and Christians arrested. Christians were labeled as criminals either because of conducting religious meetings, publishing and distributing underground magazines, or teaching children to pray. The story, life, and testimony of Pastor Wurmbrand does not end here. It is only the beginning of his tireless effort to educate the free world of the West regarding present dangers of militant atheism and brutal communism. Actions speak louder than words as the deception of communist procedures and practice looms, and ignorance of basic facts endangers everyone with Christian conscience. It is only a matter of time when the malpractices of militant atheism will strike deeper into our lives. Those most vulnerable to attack believe that Christianity can coexist with communism, faith with denial, belief with rejection by force. Radical thinkers of the West, who may be tomorrow's leaders, are destroying every system of peace